Good morning. It is Monday, October 14th. I'm Harry Smith.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Paula Zahn. Welcome to CBS This Morning.
Making headlines this morning.
Proceeding is ended.
The Senate Judiciary Committee brings the Clarence Thomas hearings to a close. Now the full Senate must decide who's telling the truth.
Plus, pumping up your pecs without the sweat. We're going to show you how.
And a leading lady for all times, Ginger Rogers, finally tells her story.
Our complete coverage of the Thomas nomination begins in just a minute. We'll be talking with supporters of Professor Hill and Judge Thomas. We'll also be catching up with Robert Bork, who faced his own confirmation ordeal and wound up being rejected. Lots more ahead.
Very busy morning this morning. We can't forget it's also Columbus Day. In our next half hour, Robert Krulwich goes exploring for the real Christopher Columbus and something else to celebrate this morning. Mark McEwen is back. Good morning.
Hey, boy, did we see that all weekend as well. Hello, Harry. Hello, Paula. Hello, everybody. We've got rain to talk about in the Tennessee and Ohio Valley. Southwest is going to be hot. Going to mop that brow. We'll tell you about it in just a second. Harry?
All right, Mark. We'll get the complete forecast in just a few minutes. Right now, time for all this morning's news. The Senate hearing on sexual harassment charges against Clarence Thomas concluded early this morning. But it's still anybody's guess whether Thomas will be confirmed to the Supreme Court when the full Senate votes tomorrow evening. Eric Engberg is in Washington with more. Good morning, Eric.
Morning, Harry. The Judiciary Committee hearings ended at 2 a.m., finally moving the Thomas-Hill confrontation over to the full Senate. By joint agreement, the principals, Clarence Thomas and Anita Hill, did not come back for any rebuttal.
Have you ever enjoyed bringing the gavel down more than that? No.
So it ended as it began, with witnesses who sounded absolutely confident in one side or the other, giving opinions that defied any explanation but that one of the two was lying. 4 of Hill's friends testified she had told them at different times during the 80s that her boss was making unwanted sexual advances.
She's suffering now. She was suffering 10 years ago, and she is not suffering as a result of her actions. And that person is Anita Hill.
But a law school dean who saw the two together years later said Hill and Thomas laughed like old friends.
He's a man of high moral standing, and I tell you that it's not possible that he could be linked with the kinds of things that have been alleged against him here. If it were true, it's the greatest Jekyll and Hyde stories in the history of mankind.
Thomas's supporters claim that he has the votes to win confirmation when the full Senate votes at 6 p.m. on Tuesday. But the situation is now so muddled and so confused after 3 days of lurid, inconclusive testimony that nobody is sure of anything except that the whole process has been distasteful. Harry?
Eric, explain, if you will, how it is that we're not going to hear from the professor and the judge today, because earlier it was supposed to be that they were supposed to testify again.
Both sides were given assurances that they would have an opportunity to offer rebuttal testimony. By mutual agreement, Harry, both sides agreed they did not want to come back. As Judge Thomas put it, enough is enough. And I think probably the lawyers on both sides and the Senate Judiciary Committee staff probably would agree with that this morning.
All righty. Eric Engberg reporting from Washington this morning. Thank you. For more on the Thomas nomination, we're going to get the view from the White House. Randall Pinkston is there this morning. Good morning, Randall.
Good morning, Harry. President Bush called the hearings ridiculous, outrageous, and unfair, and asked rhetorically why it took Anita Hill 10 years to come forward. It was the closest the president has come to making a direct attack on Hill's story. But the New York Times reports this morning that it was Mr. Bush himself who approved the hardball strategy used by Hill's supporters on the Judiciary Committee to question Hill's story and her character.
The issue here is one of credibility, and there are very significant indicators of lack of credibility by Professor Hill.
Committee Democrats reject Judge Thomas's contention that Anita Hill's allegation of sexual harassment reinforces negative racial stereotypes of black men.
If this is racism, it is trying to find the truth of charges made by a black woman against a black man. Where's the racist in that?
At a golf course news conference, President Bush said he has no regrets about nominating Thomas, but has lots of regrets about what has happened to him.
I really feel hurt about it, and I mainly in identifying, trying to empathize with his family, and also to some degree with the process. I think a lot of Americans felt kind of unclean watching this and kind of hurt and troubled by it.
Correcting something I said earlier, that it was President Bush who approved the strategy to support Thomas on the Judiciary Committee, not Hill. Mr. Bush expressed confidence but could not predict the outcome of the vote. No one is able to do that. But if, in fact, the Senate is unable to decide who's telling the truth, the White House is insisting that Judge Thomas should receive the benefit of the doubt, in effect returning him to where he was before Hill's allegations when a majority of the Senate was pledging their support. The vote is tomorrow. Harry?
Randall, just over a week ago, this was pretty much a done deal in terms of confirming Clarence Thomas. You say the White House does not have an exact vote count. How close is it?
Well, I should say publicly they don't have an exact vote count. Obviously, they are counting heads every minute. The Senate Minority Leader Robert Dole yesterday gave the closest indication to the White House position when he said the real question is what's going to happen to those 18 undecided senators who have not said which way they were going to vote. Which way will they be persuaded? That probably, if there's any arm twisting going on today, that's where it's going. That's where it's happening.
All right. Randall Pinkston reporting this morning from the White House. Thank you. Burmese opposition leader Aung San Suu Kyi has been awarded the 1991 Nobel Peace Prize. Suu Kyi has been under house arrest for 2 years because of her fight for democratic reforms and against human rights abuses by Burma's military government. The award includes a check for $1 million. In baseball, the National League Championship Series between Pittsburgh and Atlanta is even at 2 games each. Pittsburgh's Mike LaValliere had a pinch hit single in the top of the 10th. It scored Andy Van Slyke with a winning run, and the game went past midnight on the East Coast. Hundreds of Minnesotans stayed up past midnight to welcome home the American League champion Twins. Minnesota won the pennant yesterday with an 8-5 victory over the Blue Jays. Bob McEwen reports from Toronto.
They came to the Sky Dome in Toronto this weekend, hoping to see the Blue Jays become the first Canadian team to win a place in the championship of America's national pastime. But for all of the flags and the Mounties,
line drive down the right field line.
Minnesota wins on Friday and Saturday brought the Twins to within a game of some baseball history of their own.
Big opportunity for Kirby Puckett.
With the score tied at 5 in the 8th inning, Kirby Puckett drove in Dan Gladden with the winning run. Puckett would be named the series MVP.
Fly ball to left field. Dan Gladden is going back on the track. He makes the catch. And the Minnesota Twins have gone from the cellar to the penthouse in the American League.
It was the first time a team has gone from last place one season to a berth in the World Series the next. In the Twins dressing room, there was the requisite shampooing with champagne and the jubilation one might expect of a club picked to finish last again this year.
This is the greatest feeling in the world, man. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I never even thought it would. I couldn't imagine, but this is just unbelievable.
The Twins will open the World Series next Saturday at home, but on Canada's Thanksgiving weekend, it was Minnesota's team that had the most to be thankful for. Bob McEwen, CBS News, Toronto.
It is 8 minutes past the hour. Good thing Mark is back here on this Columbus Day morning. Good morning. Good to have you back.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Harry. The Mets get like some money from that because weren't they a lot of Mets on that winning Minnesota team? Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the weather portion of the show around here. Happy Columbus Day to you as well. Hey, yeah. Pirates and the Braves are tied. We'll tell you about that at game time. I want to say hello to everybody in Nevis. That's where I was for the past week. 60 degrees in New York City. The East is going to have another decent, beautiful, wonderful day today. Take a picture of it because it's going to be changing as the week goes on. And the reason it's going to be changing, you'll see this little comma-shaped area of precipitation. Hoo boy, do you have a great day lined up for you up across the upper Midwest. Oh, first of all, let's put this up here. Minnesota, Minneapolis, St. Paul is not on the map, but we want to say hi to all the people up there. It's in that general part of Minnesota because, hey, they are the American League champs. We'll be seeing them in the World Series. But just right around, you're going to see a gusty, windy kind of day, a little rain in there mixed with snow just because, hey, when you're winning, it's a good day to have it like this because you're not even going to notice it out there. 38 will be the high today in Duluth, 55 in Chicago. Some rain from Michigan all the way down through the Tennessee Valley and Ohio valleys, all the way down into even Alabama as well. In Tomahawk, chop land. 74 degrees be the high in Atlanta. I want to say hi to all the people in Pittsburgh. They're playing a great series as well, this sort of nonpartisan kind of thing. Put this way up here in the northwest. I can barely reach up that high. Going to be a decent day up there as well. 71 will be the high today in Tacoma, 69 in Billings, 77 in Boise. Once you get past the middle of the country, it's going to be sweet. Want to point out one thing. First snowstorm of the season up in Alaska, mostly along the shoreline, 6 to 10 inches in Anchorage, 2 to 4 inches in Fairbanks. Look at the temperatures, 28 and 32 respectively. Snow in Alaska, a lovely state. That's a quick look at the national forecast. Let's take a look at your weather. Christopher, cloudy high of 61. Columbus, partly cloudy high of 79. Nina, cloudy high of 64. Pinta, sunny high of 88. Santa Maria, you knew it was coming, sunny high of 86. And Indian Hills, Colorado, sunny high of 70. We've got it, the wake-up call, next time around. Paula?
Thanks, Mark. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Let's continue our coverage of the Thomas nomination now with two women who represent both sides of the debate. Joining us from Washington are Pamela Talcon, a former chief of staff at the EEOC who testified on behalf of Judge Thomas, and Kim Taylor, an associate law professor at Stanford who attended Yale Law School with Anita Hill. She was scheduled to testify on Hill's behalf, but her appearance was canceled last night when the committee decided to wrap up the hearings. Good morning to the two of you. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Paula.
Professor Taylor, had you been given the chance to testify, what would you have told the senators yesterday?
Well, I would have told them that I have known Anita Hill since 1977. We were friends in law school, and I've known her for 14 years. And I think it's important to know the type of person that Anita is. She's a woman of principle, a woman of tremendous integrity, and a woman of character. She's not someone who would level an accusation lightly. She is not someone who would level an accusation without just cause.
So you're saying it would not be possible for her to lie because someone clearly with a story so diametrically opposed is lying here.
That's exactly right. She is not someone who lives in a fantasy land, as has been suggested. She is not someone who is a spurned woman. She is someone who is incredibly credible. She is someone who is very committed to the truth, somebody who believes in what she's saying because it happened to her.
Ms. Talcon, Judge Thomas is a man you work closely with at the EEOC. Is it conceivable that he's not telling the truth?
It is inconceivable to me that he's not telling the truth. I know Judge Thomas for a long time. I was his chief of staff. I worked very closely with him, spent hours alone with him, observed him in all sorts of situations. I know his character. He's a man of character. This particular type of conduct that's alleged to have occurred is so far removed from his character, the man I know, that I think it's absolutely impossible that he did what was alleged.
How would you go about explaining then the existence of that very specific testimony that we heard from Anita Hill?
I can't explain it. I mean, there are all sorts of speculation one could engage in, but I don't know Ms. Hill. I've never met Ms. Hill, and I can't explain it.
Professor Taylor, there's been a lot of talk about Professor Hill's motivation in coming forward and testifying at this late stage in the confirmation process. I'm curious how you were brought to Washington, who contacted you, and what made you decide to come to Washington ultimately?
Well, as I said, we've been friends for a long time. I was concerned about how she would go through this process. We have watched as her character has been assailed during the past few days, and I thought it was important that she have friends by her side. I was contacted by the lawyers that were representing her, and I was actually subpoenaed by Senator Biden to come and testify. I thought it was important that we take a look at this process and that I be there for her. When we talk about motivations, Paula, you were suggesting why might she come forward. There have been all sorts of speculations about why she would come forward, but there has been absolutely nothing other than innuendo to suggest that there is anything other than the truth that's motivating her coming forward. She is speaking about what happened to her. If you watched her on Friday and you listened to her, you could feel that she was reliving events. It may be difficult for someone who knows Judge Thomas to believe that he would be capable of something like this. But these things happen behind closed doors. They happen to someone, and you could hear it, you could feel it, and you know it actually happened.
Ms. Talcon, clearly we've talked about the testimony we've heard so far being diametrically opposed, coming from Professor Hill and Judge Thomas. Even as you two sit there this morning, your stories do not square at all. What has that been like for you to be part of this process where no one seems to be able to get a sense of who's telling the truth?
Well, it's been exhausting, but I think that And as a victim of sexual harassment, as I think most women have been who have worked in their lives, I understand the difficulties for Ms. Hill in demonstrating that this conduct did in fact occur. But when we speak about motivation, it seems to me we've been concentrating on what Ms. Hill's motivation was to accuse, and I think we need to think about what Judge Thomas's motivation might have been at the time. I mean, it's impossible, it's inconceivable that a man of his stature, a man who knew the law, who fully understood the meaning of the law, would engage in such conduct and jeopardize his career. If he were in fact scorned and if he were in fact rebuffed by Ms. Hill, as she claims, why didn't he take the actions against her that she feared? What was her motivation in proceeding with him to another job? And what was his motivation in helping her with her career after she left the job if she were unwilling to give him the sexual favors that she claims he wanted? So there's a lot of questions with respect to motivations on the part of both of the parties.
And many of those questions the senators will be considering between now and the vote tomorrow night on the confirmation of Judge Thomas. We thank you both for being with us this morning.
Thank you.
I know it's been a long last couple of days. Harry?
It's 15 minutes after the hour. Coming up next, Judge Robert Bork on what one senator calls the white-hot glare of the confirmation process. And stay with us in the next half hour on CBS This Morning for more on the Thomas nomination, plus Dr. Bob Arnott with an important new series on men's health, and Robert Krulwich on the real Christopher Columbus. How does your morning show stack up when it comes to providing the recommended daily allowance of health and consumer news? Probably not as well as you think. Keep going. That's right. It would take 3 of the other morning shows to equal the amount of information and enjoyment you get from just 2 hours of CBS This Morning. Take it from me, Harry Smith, anchor of CBS This Morning.
CBS This Morning, breakfast for your head.
Danny came to live with me as a foster child when he was 2. When his mother died, I adopted him.
William Johnson is the child welfare professional who arranged Danny's adoption.
Today, Danny has a family and a loving dad. Who's to say where he would have ended up? So many are abused or homeless. With Danny, he's going to be great.
Every day, child welfare professionals like William Johnson are making a difference, one child at a time.
I couldn't have a better job than helping kids like Danny.
America's strength was built by small business. Today, over 20 million small businesses employ about half of the nation's workforce. Businesses like Irwin Gaffin's.
When Marjorie and I started our business 3.5 years ago, we had a lot of questions and we needed some good advice. We found help and the rest is history.
The Small Business Administration provided good advice and many answers for Irwin Gaffin. The SBA can help you too. For a list of SBA publications, call 1-800-YOU-ASK-SBA.
What is a designated driver?
Designated driver, your friend, your brother, your sister, someone that gets you home safe.
I think it's someone who has the courage to go to a party and have a good time without drinking.
A designated driver is someone who takes the responsibility of friends, make sure they get to the party and from the party safe.
Designated driver is the person who, when you go to a party or a bar, doesn't drink so that they're capable of driving.
It's 18 minutes after the hour. If anyone has an inkling of some of what Clarence Thomas is going through, it's Robert Bork. 4 years ago, Judge Bork was nominated to the Supreme Court by President Reagan. After grueling, often heated, and sometimes politically charged hearings, his nomination was ultimately rejected by the Senate. Robert Bork is now a scholar in legal studies with the American Enterprise Institute, and he joins us this morning from Washington. Good morning.
Good morning.
We know how this process works. The party in power makes its nomination. The nomination goes before the Judiciary Committee. But over the last couple of years, and especially since your nomination, this process has been filled with backroom deals and mudslinging in public. Is it simply a matter of the polarity between the two political parties?
Well, of course, it's partly that, the president being of one party and the Senate of the other. But I think in addition to that, our politics generally has become much more divisive and polarized. And in this town in particular, it's become a degenerate process.
Judge Thomas said the other day, had he to do it over again, he would not. Was that your experience as well?
No, not particularly. I think I came out of there less wounded than people thought I was or should have been or something.
How do you account for this degeneration over the last couple of years?
I think in part it's the rise of interest groups who lobby the senators. And they are, as a matter of fact, much stronger on the left than they are on the right. And I think it also, to be quite frank about it, has something to do with the particular senators who are sitting on that committee.
Elaborate, if you would.
Well, I think that Senator Kennedy, Senator Metzenbaum, Senator Heflin, some others, really practice attack politics and are not given to making sober judgments. They make political judgments entirely.
Do you think that's been true as well in the hearings over the last couple of days?
Oh, yes. I think it has been. I think there was no reason for them not to delay their decision on the committee and to listen to the story between these two people in executive session. Instead, somebody on the Democratic side decided not to ask for a delay in a hearing in executive session, but instead to leak this thing right before the vote on Thomas. That's attack politics.
Do you think the committee as a whole has acted ineptly, though going back to the original FBI report that no one seemed to give real notice to?
Yes, I think it has been inept. They should have been alert to the importance of this much earlier and begun to handle it in the correct fashion.
Let's talk a little bit on the broader issue of how this has all come down, because during your hearings and the verbal battles that went on between you and the senators in the committee, we see now that Judge Thomas, especially during his original appearances, seemed to be a person who was handled, who had been coached, who had been told, don't talk about this, don't talk about that. Absent from all of this becomes real truth and real information. How should this work?
As long as you have the President and the Senate in different political hands, it's going to work that way. Judge Thomas was coached. The fellow we saw for the first several days was not the Judge Thomas I know and who is my friend. When these charges came out and Judge Thomas began to speak from the heart, that was the man we all know. But initially he was coached to a fare thee well, and I don't think it's an effective way. But the fact is, you can't go up there and discuss the issues and expect to be confirmed if you're conservative.
And that's just the reality of this day and age.
That is the reality.
Judge Robert Bork, we thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Certainly.
Do appreciate it. We're coming up on 22 minutes after the hour. Much more on the Thomas nomination throughout the morning, and later, we're going to lighten up a little bit with Ginger Rogers. Stay with us.
All hands report to stations. All hands to stations. Prepare the ship for inspection. Prepare all decks and passageways.
Ready below, sir.
Very well.
Ready on the bridge, sir.
Very well.
We can enjoy the precious moments at home
Request permission to come aboard, sir.
because they're out here keeping those moments secure. The men and women of the Navy out here today, safeguarding your tomorrow.
Inspection complete, sir.
They want to do their taxes, but it's hard for them. Maybe it's poor eyesight, or arthritis, or maybe they just don't understand. Use your basic math skills to help them with their taxes. Join the IRS Volunteer Assistance Programs. Call 1-800-TAX-1040. The IRS trains you free, and it's open to you or to your organization. Volunteer. You'll feel good about yourself, and you'll help make someone's taxes less taxing.
Colon cancer is a very serious and common form of cancer. I had it myself a few years ago. Luckily, a routine test enabled my doctor to detect and treat it at an early stage when the rate of cure is very high. Ask your doctor about testing for colon cancer, especially if you're over 40. Could save your life. For more information, including how you may be able to reduce your risk of colon cancer with a healthy diet, write the Will Rogers Institute, White Plains, New York.
I didn't always talk about my diabetes until the Juvenile Diabetes Foundation started talking about a cure. And with these determined people, it isn't just talk. You see, as the leading force behind diabetes research, JDF has already helped reduce diabetic blindness, kidney failure, and heart disease. But to cure diabetes, JDF needs to talk to you. So please call 1-800-JDF-CURE, because there is a cure, and together we'll find it.
There are 9 symptoms of leukemia. And one very good reason we're pointing them out. Because with an early diagnosis, your chances for survival have never been better. Check with your doctor about persistent signs. The Leukemia Society of America. We're gaining every moment.
Morning, we're back. 25 minutes after the hour.
What
Hi,
a
Mark.
weekend.
Welcome back.
Good
Hi,
morning.
Robert.
Hello, welcome back. Did I miss something this weekend with Thomas?
Hey, I understand you were sitting on the beach, but still coming in
I
to
watched
peek at the
everything.
television set every...
Just riveting television. Although as the weekend finally got towards the end, it was, I expected, went to bed like about 10 o'clock Friday night. Saturday morning, woke up at 4, expected to click it on saying, I still am not guilty. I just thought it was going to be on the whole time. It was just a lot.
We can almost guarantee that a major story will break when Mark McEwen's gone. Ground war broke.
Had a
when he was on
hurricane
vacation.
once. You had to go to Texas. The war broke while I was gone.
This is one of those rare ones where just everywhere I went, people were with radios. It's just nobody.
And nobody really knows. Everybody's, well, I think. But you ask people, everybody's in circles with all of this. Nobody has an answer.
I ran
had
a running race
myself.
yesterday with 2,500 women. If you could have listened to the conversations as we were running and circling Central Park, it was incredible. I would love to have put a wireless on about 2,000 of the women.
Well, I think
because there was really a very heated debate.
Was was debated, or was there consensus?
No, there was not consensus. I think their reaction pretty much mirrored what the other polls are showing of the basic American public's reaction to this.
Well, I heard some women were saying the senators don't get it, don't get what sexual harassment's all about, because I don't think they've ever been. Women go through stuff like this on various levels many times throughout their lives.
We have all been harassed in this industry. I've had a number of occasions. Did I report them? No. And for the same reasons you've heard every other woman in this country state, that your career track would be affected by it. You weren't necessarily sure who to go to within the corporation. This was before the EEOC guidelines and the sexual harassment guidelines became very clear.
And see, on my level, I've had racism on every level, lots of levels, but you don't deck the person. You go, well, no Christmas card for you this year. But you continue going on with your career is what you do. And I don't think the gentleman sitting up there, those are country club gentlemen. Those are I mean, senators, I'm not saying all of them have come out of great, wonderful backgrounds, but a lot of them have come from wealthy families, they've been sent to good schools. I was saying this to you earlier this morning, they're the people that they want to join the country club, as opposed to, we can't let you in. I don't think a lot of them get it. So that's a sense I heard over the weekend.
My essential problem is with the motivation. I listened to what has now become the Republican argument, I guess. This, I think, is roughly what happened. That there was a woman who was very ambitious to succeed. She attached herself to a particular fellow in the office. She didn't get the job. She had some kind of a fantasy at that point, an angry fantasy, which she shared with her friends, who are innocently now reporting what she told them at the time, but it was never true. And then 10 years pass, and she's called by a group of investigators who want to get dirt on a guy, and she signs up with them under some pressure. That seems so complicated.
That's what I thought.
Compared to it happened. And that's my problem. I find that scenario hard to, whereas... Yeah.
Go ahead.
Don't you find, what I literally have found through this whole process is that when Clarence Thomas came in on Friday and made his statement, I said, okay, he didn't do it. And then Anita Hill came out and did her statement. And it has been exactly that way through even the witnesses yesterday. Whatever, the witnesses were pro Anita Hill, yeah. Pro Judge Thomas, yeah. I have no idea.
Pendulum swings.
I mean,
this is CBS.
students of the Conchita Espinosa Academy of the Arts in Miami's Little Havana, celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month with our theme.
Rare that we've had that much enthusiasm at this hour, thanks to them, their director, Rosita Segovia, and to accompanist, Arcadio Marin. Thanks to them also, and to WCIX TV.
Good morning on this Monday morning. Welcome back to CBS This Morning. I'm Paula Zahn.
And I'm Harry Smith. Good morning, everybody.
We're going to have a lot more on the Clarence Thomas controversy this morning. Coming up, we'll be talking with a black conservative who says it's time someone defended Clarence Thomas's civil rights. And we'll ask political commentator Fred Barnes for his view of the proceedings.
Then Dr. Bob Arnott is going to be along to pump you up without pumping iron. But is the alternative the way to go? And hero or villain, what was this Columbus guy really like? On this Columbus Day, our Robert Krowich is going to shed some light on the mystery.
First, though, it's time to get caught up on the news this morning. For better or worse, the Senate hearing for Supreme Court nominee Clarence Thomas is over. It ended early today after marathon testimony on the sexual harassment charge brought against Thomas by law professor Anita Hill. And it ended on a familiar note of total disagreement among the witnesses.
Anita said that Clarence Thomas had repeatedly asked her out. He kept pressing her and repeating things like, "I'm your type, and you know I'm your kind of man," but you refuse to admit it.
At no time did Professor Hill intimate, not even in the most subtle of ways, that Judge Thomas was asking her out or subjecting her to the crude, abusive conversations that have been described.
The Senate votes tomorrow evening on the Thomas nomination. The 1991 Nobel Peace Prize has been awarded to a woman Burmese opposition leader, Aung San Suu Kyi. Suu Kyi had been held under house arrest since 1989 because of her popular fight for democracy and human rights in Burma. Burma's military government does not allow Suu Kyi to receive visitors or communicate with the outside world. Back in this country, thousands of immigrants went to a Virginia post office over the weekend to bid for the green cards that would give them the right to stay in the United States permanently. Under a government lottery plan, the first 40,000 applications received after last midnight will be winners. Millions of other people mailed in their applications, and officials say they have an equal chance to win. In 15 cities across the country, women are running to raise money in the battle against breast cancer, a disease that will strike 1 in 9 American women.
Let's go.
These are the faces behind the statistics. Women of all ages, mothers, grandmothers, sisters, and daughters, who turned out in New York City yesterday to race for the cure. From age 1 to age 81, they are affected by a breast cancer epidemic that will kill 44,500 women this year alone.
It is an alarmingly large and growing disease, needing much more research funding, much more education in our country, and much better and more humane treatment.
I lost a sister and a mother to this deadly disease, and I want to make sure that my daughter has a very long, healthy life.
I just recently had my surgery, and I've been through a lot the last year, and I don't want my daughter or my other daughter who's in college right now to ever have to go through this.
I was among 2,000 racers hoping to raise money for more breast cancer research and to provide free mammogram screening for women who can't afford it. Similar events have been held this year in Texas, Washington, and Colorado. And in every city, the field is filled with breast cancer survivors. They are just some of the 1.5 million women who have beat breast cancer. The future is in our hands. Through events like this, the war will be won. We must speak out, we must educate, and we must never give up. Congratulations again. That, in fact, was the largest turnout for a first run of its type in New York City. Next year, I'm going to get Mark and Harry out because they're going to open it up to men.
Way to go. And congratulations,
Paul.
Paul.
Congratulations.
Hard work you put into that.
Yes, indeed.
Mark is here over the
Here with the
weekend.
weather.
Ran down to Atlanta.
You did. Hey,
Got Jake one of those little styrofoam chops. He got
Jane
into
Fonda
it after a while.
doing the double thing.
Well, she does a triple.
Yeah.
She actually has a triple going there.
Every morning while I was off at 7 o'clock, woke up, said, Yo, Harry went right back to sleep. It was a
Yo,
beautiful
Mark.
thing. Let's talk about the weather as we do the Tomahawk hop, the Tomahawk chop. Yes, we're waking up Presque Isle, Maine, mostly cloudy, 36 degrees. Our affiliate WAGM-TV is celebrating its 35th birthday today. I'm older than an affiliate. WAGM serves northern Maine and western New Brunswick, Canada. They've been #1 since 1956. That's pretty good. I've been around since '54, so they're just a couple years old. This weather segment is sponsored by Ultra Slim Fast, a delicious, nutritious way to lose weight. Let's go over here. The Pirates don't have a tomahawk thingy or anything. Let's talk about the weather here. What could the Pirates, they have the, anyway, we are family. Here's where Pittsburgh plays, just in case you don't know. Actually, wait a minute. Over here is where Pittsburgh plays, where there's some clouds. They're going to see, we'll talk about the game a little bit later on today. Tell you what it's going to be like game time. Don't forget it's on CBS later on this afternoon. 74 will be the high in Atlanta. Just to the west of Atlanta, running up through the Appalachians, Ohio Valley, a little bit west of the Appalachians, excuse me, through the Ohio and Tennessee valleys up into the Great Lakes. You'll see some rain today from Alabama stretching up to Michigan. This is where the best weather is going to be today. If you want to get rain in your face, that's where to go. It's going to mix in with a little snow as well. Gusty winds, lots of rain across the Great Lakes. But in Minnesota, Minnehaha, they don't care because they are going to the World Series. I believe we're going to be going to Minneapolis, St. Paul by Friday to be there for the game. I want to point out down in the southwest, it's going to be very warm depending upon the Santa Ana winds. If they're going to be blowing, you'll see temperatures close to 100. If they're not going to be blowing so hard, you'll see temperatures 80-ish or so. So that's why we have 90 sort of sitting in the middle. So watch for the winds later on today. That's a quick look at the national forecast. Let's take a look at your weather. Minneapolis, St. Paul, cloudy high of 46. Twinsburg, Ohio, afternoon rain high of 60. Puckett for Kirby, afternoon thunderstorms high of 81. Pittsburgh won yesterday, partly cloudy high of 64. Pirate Harbor, Florida, sunny high of 85. Atlanta, afternoon clouds high of 74. We'll give you the weather for game time. Braves versus the Pirates later on today on CBS. Next time. Paula?
Thanks a lot, Mark. Joining us from Washington with more on the Thomas hearings are Robert Woodson, a leading black conservative with the National Center for Neighborhood Enterprise, and Fred Barnes of the New Republic magazine and consultant for CBS News. Good morning, gentlemen. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
Fred, I'm going to start with you first. In the wake of all the conflicting accounts we have heard over the last 3 days, can Judge Thomas be confirmed?
Oh, I think he can be confirmed. We saw an extraordinary drama over the weekend. On Friday, after Anita Hill testified, the assumption was he would, at least by me anyway, and I think by the White House too, is that Judge Thomas was history. He could not be confirmed. Then he came back Friday night and Saturday with this overpowering moral outrage that really cowed the committee. And then on Sunday, it was sort of a wash. Witnesses for her, witnesses for him. But I think it was his appearance coupled with the doubts raised about her testimony by Senator Specter and Senator Hatch and others that have really made it likely now that he will be confirmed.
There are some folks out there that subscribe to the view, though, that by voting against Judge Thomas, you're actually provoking less anger from voters. Do you buy into that?
You're provoking less anger by voting for him?
Voting against. That, in fact, would be an easier vote.
A vote against would be easier. Well, I don't really think so. Actually, the polls that were taken, some on Saturday, some on Sunday, show that a majority of Americans believe him. I think right now the easier vote for senators, and the ones that matter after all, are these 15 to 20 Democrats, moderate and conservative Democrats, who've been the swing vote. I think the easier thing for them is to stick with their initial decision, which was to vote for Judge Thomas, and I think that's what most of them will do.
Mr. Woodson, Judge Thomas has characterized the hearings as a high-tech lynching. Were they?
Yes, they were. I think Judge Thomas was a victim of a lynching initiated first, or a sanction given by the civil rights leadership, the NAACP, the Congressional Black Caucus, who have repeatedly over years used lies and misrepresentations of his record. And then they threw him out the door to the lynch mob, the feminists and the other liberals. And they used the same tactics with the Senate, using the Senate committee to vilify this man and to just destroy him. And I think that this strategy was rejected. It created a backlash in the black community. I've never seen such anger displayed from all sectors of the black community. Phone calls are pouring in. People who said they were lukewarm on him before are now strong supporters. And I think that once the Judge Thomas was allowed to be Judge Thomas and not the person scripted by the White House, that he proved that he is an effective person and will do well on the court.
What is it, though, that you found racist in particular about the proceedings?
I didn't find it racist as much as I did the ideological difference. There's a double standard. A black member of the Congressional Black Caucus, was found guilty of sexual abuse of a young black woman while on official duty in Africa. And yet the women, the Democratic women in the Congress, did not march out or even demand that he be removed from the Congress. Judge Thomas is accused of sexual harassment. Suddenly there's this walkout, a mobilization of the women's movement. This is the kind of double standard that any black who dares depart from the traditional liberal democratic orthodoxy suffers when he dares, as Clarence Thomas, to express an independent point of view, who believes that ultimately the salvation of black America is in the hands of black America. That's what it's all about, not so much as color.
Robert Woodson, Fred Barnes, thank you both for being with us this morning. Harry?
Coming up on 19 minutes before the hour, next, Dr. Bob Arnott on cosmetic surgery for men.
That was me, Tommy Lasorda, before I lost 30 pounds in 3 months on the Ultra Slim Fast plan. It's even easier to have my shake because Ultra Slim Fast comes ready to drink in cans. Losing weight has never been so convenient. Wherever I am, I can have my shake. Ah, icy cold and delicious. Who says you can't take it with you?
Ultra Slim Fast. Give us a week. We'll take off the weight.
Everyone has a dream, a vision deep inside.
When I decide to follow up on an investing idea, I need a broker who's ready when I am.
We make it easier to follow your own lead.
I can call Schwab at any hour, nights or weekends, get the information I need, even place an order to trade.
Always there to give you just the help you need.
Help yourself at Schwab today.
The new baby was up all night. Now you gotta make the morning right. Folgers always comes through. It's decaffeinated too. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
Folgers Decaffeinated uses mountain-grown beans because they have more aroma than lower-level beans. And you need great aroma to wake you up.
Now you're off to a great start, 'cause Folgers warmed your heart. What a wonderful way to let the sun shine on your day. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
You know, when you're eating Quaker Oats for breakfast, you're doing the right thing. Pure nutrition, and it's piping hot. Then when you're not all hungry by 10 o'clock, and you're still going strong at 11, you know it again. Quaker Oats is the right thing to do.
It's 17 minutes until the hour. Dr. Bob Arnott is here with the first part of an important week-long series on men and health. This morning, somewhat of an unusual start, if I may say so. I called the latest trend in male vanity. Please explain. Good morning, Bob.
Good morning, Harry. Male surgery is one of the fastest growing areas in plastic surgery. There are more procedures available to men now than ever before. One procedure is performed mostly by doctors in California, and it's supposed to give men the bodies they've always wanted.
You gotta be dedicated, you gotta be hungry for it, and you gotta want it. It takes hours.
I've been members of gyms and worked out and just never had the, development that I was, happy with.
Here at Muscle Beach in Venice, California, men have always taken their bodies seriously, but it can take years of hard work to develop pecs like these. For men who don't have the time or motivation or aren't getting results, there is another way. Pec implants. 23-year-old Zach Shelnut wants a larger, more defined chest. He's getting it with the help of a new cosmetic surgery that positions solid silicone implants under the chest muscle. This is Zach's fourth operation. In the past, his implants slipped. This time he has come to Dr. Mel Burkhole, a Beverly Hills plastic surgeon and pioneer in pec implants. His charge, $7,000. The procedure is so new, many doctors refuse to perform it until long-term studies prove its safety.
This is a surgery
and there's no such thing as a surgery without risks. A small percentage of these implants have slipped, and a small percentage of those that have slipped have actually required another operation to have the implant repositioned.
Dr. Mark Gorney, past president of the American Society of Plastic and Reconstructive Surgeons, warns patients of the risks.
It's a new shtick, it's a new gimmick, and I think that's unwise. I would advise anyone contemplating this kind of surgery to ask their surgeon how long they've been doing this and what their experience has been.
While PEC implants may be the latest and trendiest male surgery, the most common is still above the neck. Many men say staying competitive in business often means looking younger and fitter.
I think it's a personal thing. I think it's one of those things, you're in the gym working out like I do, and I take my own food supplements, and I try to eat well, and I think that takes care of you from here down. But I think from here up you need a little help.
Many plastic surgeons report male patients now account for as much as 30% of their practice.
This is the type of neck and chin line that I would like to give you.
For the growing number of men who want surgically enhanced faces and bodies, the options seem unlimited. Last year, Robert Hughes got calf and pec implants. After weightlifting for 14 years, he says genetics prevented him from getting any bigger.
I wasn't really gifted in those areas. This was an opportunity for me to gain some shape and some size. It's really helped me out quite a bit, confidence-wise, and just in general, I like the way I look better, so I feel better.
And how about Zach? 24 hours after surgery, he was back for a follow-up examination.
Should do fine. Everything's in position. Everything looks great.
Feels fine.
There won't be any restriction on any of his movements.
So when you go back to the gym and people say, whoa, what have you been doing? What are you going to say?
Working out.
Help me on this, though, because just a couple of weeks ago you reported on how unsafe implants are for a certain number of women. What about these implants for men?
The female breast implant that contains liquid silicone can leak, and there's a real health risk because of that. These are solid silicone, and so they won't leak.
Thanks, Bob. This is a whole series all week this week. Do appreciate it. 13 minutes until the hour. Next, our intrepid Robert Krulwich sails on in search of Christopher Columbus.
For a video cassette copy of this week's special series on men's health, call 1-800-542-5621. The cost is $23.45, and that includes shipping and handling. The number again, 1-800-542-5621. This morning's health segment was sponsored by Tone, the skincare bar that rinses clean.
Tone up your body with exercise. Tone up your skin with Tone.
I'm toning up from my head to my toes. I'm toning up, now my skin's gonna glow. I'm toning up, looking good. I'm toning up.
New Tone is specially formulated to rinse clean. And Tone now has more cocoa butter to condition your skin.
I'm toning up, now my skin's gonna glow.
Tone up with new clean rinsing Tone.
Yoplait, low fat, calcium rich, with active yogurt cultures. It's something 40-year-old Vicky Gentry does every day. Smooth, creamy Yoplait. Do it for you.
It is one thing for a new car company to promise the highest standard of product quality, dealer service, and customer satisfaction. But quite another when Infiniti buyers agreed the promise was kept. It is a measure of performance, and happily, one that is also equaled on the road.
AT&T understands the magic of bringing families together. So when we heard Walt Disney World was celebrating its 20th anniversary, we decided to do something really special. If you're an AT&T customer, there are a lot of surprises in store for you. And if you're not, there's never been a better time to come back and make your dreams come true. Only for you, only from us.
Because there are no straight lines in nature, we've created Nature's Remedy, the first enema with a flexible neck bottle, and possibly the one you'll feel comfortable using. New Nature's Remedy, more flexible for comfort.
looking at 10 minutes before the hour. 499 years after he first set foot in the New World, Christopher Columbus is still a mystery man. Robert Krulwich has some thoughts on old Chris this morning. Good morning.
Good morning. The truth is, we do not know much about Christopher Columbus. Much of his life is a blank, and that is why with every new generation of Americans, Christopher Columbus's story keeps changing. We use Christopher Columbus, I'm going to try to demonstrate this, to tell the stories that we need to hear.
For example, for 350 years after his first voyage, Christopher Columbus was considered one of many explorers in the New World. He was represented as a good navigator, but he was never a celebrated legend until the 1770s. Around the time of the American Revolution, American patriots needed a hero who wasn't British. And as our panel of historians will now tell you, it was American patriots who reinvented Columbus as the first great American explorer.
In 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. Waved goodbye with his hanky, he became our first great Yankee.
American patriots reinvented Christopher Columbus, and they gave him all the attributes that they admired. They turned him into a lonely champion of liberty, an independent entrepreneur who had to fight with kings and queens and superstitious Catholic priests for the right to sail across the Atlantic. American writer Joel Barlow created the image of Columbus dying impoverished, in chains. That wasn't true. Columbus died a free, wealthy man. But this persecuted, practically Protestant Columbus, they barely mentioned he was Catholic. He became so popular in America that after the Revolution, the District of Columbia was named after Columbus. King's College in New York was renamed Columbia University. Columbus, Ohio was founded. And after years of being ignored, 45 American cities and towns were named after Columbus. But once Columbus became an American hero, the next generation of Americans changed him again. By the 1840s, say our historians, once he'd sailed the ocean blue,
he was Catholic, he was stylish, he was very nearly Irish.
As Irish Americans flooded into America, they looked around for an authentic Catholic American hero to show that you could be a good Catholic and a good American. Columbus fit the bill. In 1882, the Knights of Columbus were founded by Father Michael McGivney. A fraternal Irish organization at first, the Knights of Columbus turned Columbus back into a Catholic, and he was reinvented as a kind of Irish-American saint. He stayed a Catholic hero until the turn of the century when he changed again. This time,
he's Italian, ain't that great? Italians now can celebrate!
It's no surprise that New York State was the first to proclaim Columbus Day in 1908. Mostly to please millions of Italian immigrants just arriving in America. And for the rest of the century, Italians have turned Christopher Columbus into the first important Italian American. And now we come to his latest incarnation.
In 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. Heard the Indians, made them cry. He was just a bad, bad guy.
In the last year, progressives and Native American activists have turned Columbus from a hero into a villain. He is now portrayed as a murderous white man who introduced slavery to America. He's been accused of genocide, of introducing smallpox. His sins are so much in the news, the New York Times editorialized, "Come on, this man's not a Nazi." But the newest Columbus is simply the latest in an endless series that tells you whoever Columbus really was, he's constantly being reinvented to suit the needs and the passions of each new generation of Americans.
And who invented our little group of panelists this morning?
I just want to give Willie. These are four scholars that we found at a local university. Willie Joyce, Nick Mazurka, Elizabeth McClure, and Aaron Surkoff were our panelists. And much of the information, I should say, in honesty, comes from Tzvi Dorner's book, Columbus and the Age of Discovery, which is also a PBS and multi-part series. They have a lot of this.
And they were believable every time they came back with a different version of the story. Thanks a lot. Happy Columbus Day.
Thank you.
5 minutes before the hour, we'll be right back.
This portion of CBS This Morning was sponsored by YoPlay. Taste isn't the only reason to eat YoPlay every day.
YoPlay. Low fat, calcium rich, with active yogurt cultures. It's something 40-year-old Vicky Gentry does every day. Smooth, creamy Yoplait. Do it for you.
It's tough getting out of bed to face all the chores ahead, till that aroma comes through when the Folgers starts to brew. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
The mountain-grown beans Folgers uses have more aroma than ordinary lower-level beans, and you need great aroma to wake you up.
Now things are feeling right. You see the morning in a whole new light. There's hard work to be done, another day yet to be won. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
Luxurious new Chrysler LeBaron series starting at under $14,000. The perfect balance between self-indulgence and common sense.
Now choose 770 powertrain or 336 bumper-to-bumper protection.
I think the thing I like most about the MCI mentality, if you will, is that they do seem to be devising creative ways to help their customers. But I don't think it's motivated simply by being competitive with AT&T or with Sprint, but that they really are concerned for their customers and that they do want them to realize savings. I mean, from my perspective, I'm realizing about a $10 savings or so, most of which is from the Friends and Family program. I have, I guess, sort of the attitude, why wouldn't you join?
On CBS This Morning, here's a look at your weather. Most of the west will remain sunny and rather warm today. However, Texas will finally begin to cool off. Meanwhile, rain should develop across the Tennessee and Ohio valleys, while look for some wet snow. It's possible around the upper Great Lakes today.
Even with us tomorrow here on CBS This Morning, Rosemary Clooney will be along. After years of great singing, she's finally made her Carnegie Hall debut.
And another leading lady type coming up a little bit later on this morning, Ginger Rogers. She talks about her story.
We'll also have kids songs you'll want to know about, some good tapes for you to
pick
back up.
The people of CBS News, Dan Rather,
Connie Chung,
Mike Wallace,
Ed Bradley,
Leslie Stahl,
and Charles Gerald. Experience
CBS News.
Tonight, a very special episode of Murphy Brown.
Avery Brown, one hell of a broad.
Murphy says goodbye to her mom with special guest Darren McGavin.
I always thought that I'd be the first to go. Dad. I was sure she'd figure out some way to kill me.
Followed by an all-new Designing Women. Tonight. Can friends become lovers?
Maybe we should check out the room service in your hotel. These flowers are a gesture of friendship.
He wants out. An all-new Rosie O'Neill, Thursday.
This is CBS.
folks in Toledo know what's going on. Those are the men and women of Toledo Milk Processing in Toledo, Ohio.
In just a minute, we're going to tell you why they're singing our song.
Welcome back to CBS This Morning. I'm Harry Smith.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Paula Zahn.
Of course, the big story this morning continues to be the Clarence Thomas nomination. We're going to have full coverage in this hour. In a few minutes, journalists from Iowa and Georgia will help us out with their perspectives on the drama.
Now, if you wanted to know why, here's why. Those Toledo dairy workers are in such good voice this morning. Coming up in this half hour, our money editor, John Stara, is going to answer their questions about personal finance. And get a pencil, John has some important information for you this morning as well. Time to get caught up, though, on what's happening in the news this morning. Members of the Senate have a lot to think about between now and tomorrow evening when they must decide whether to confirm Clarence Thomas as a justice of the U.S. Supreme Court. Eric Engberg reports on the end of the Senate Judiciary Committee hearings. Good morning, Eric.
Good morning, Paula. The trial by testimony of Clarence Thomas and Anita Hill ended abruptly at 2 this morning when both said that they had no wish to return to the judiciary.